One of the most difficult parts about healing from narcissistic abuse is finding the right help that you need to get out of the toxicity and get onto a path towards freedom in your life. If it seems like you're surrounded by bad advice, by bad information, well, chances are you're right. And that's because I've discovered that there is at least a 3-to-1 ratio when it comes to the people who can help you. What this 3-to-1 ratio suggests is that there are 3 different types of people within your circle who cannot help you, nor should you even try to get them to help you. In worst case scenarios, they can cause more damage to an already hurtful situation that you're experiencing with a narcissist. There is, in fact, generally speaking, only one type of person who can really help you, who can really get you out of the toxicity and get you on a path towards freedom. Now, the 3 types of people who cannot help you, you should not even be trying to get to help you, that we're going to talk about in this video are these. Number 1, people with narcissistic tendencies. Now, what's interesting about this is that just because you're experiencing narcissistic abuse in this one relationship, maybe your husband or your wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or a sibling, does not mean that you are not surrounded by other people with narcissistic tendencies within your circle of friends, at your job, or other people within your family. And so we're going to talk about them because for obvious reasons, they're not going to be able to help you. As a matter of fact, they're going to make things much worse for you. All right. The second type of person in your immediate circle who will not be able to help you are people who are asleep and who are willfully naive towards the reality of abusers or narcissistic abuse. These people oftentimes display themselves as just wanting to keep the peace. They just want everybody to be happy. They oftentimes got the rosy-colored goggles on, right? Oh, life is just good. These are people who are not going to be able to help you at all. As a matter of fact, these people also can cause more damage and cause you to walk into a narcissist trap. We're going to talk about these people in your life. Last but not least, the third type of person who is not going to be able to help you are some trained professionals. And I'm talking about trained professionals in the medical field, in the scientific community, even psychologists. And now this is dicey territory, all right? And I want to put a disclaimer out there because there are plenty of professionals who are trained, who are doing incredible work, especially in the narcissistic abuse community. Dr. Ramani, I'm talking to you. Dr. Les Carter, I'm talking to you. All the other doctors out there that are doing fantastic work to help people understand narcissistic abuse. Kudos to you. Keep it up. However, there are plenty within the medical industry, the scientific community, psychologists who can actually not offer any help. And as I said before, might even make things worse. We're going to talk about these trained professionals that are in this category. And then, after we talk about these 3 types of people who are not going to help you, who are not able to help you, I'm going to share with you the one type of person that can. And I'm going to talk about your burden to identify this one type of person and how this one type of person can help you. I also want to share with you some things to be cautious of and to be aware of when it comes to finding this person who can help you heal from narcissistic abuse. Let's go. My name is Kevin, and before I begin, I want to let you know that I am here to support you. Down in the description box below this video, you're going to find access to one-on-one appointments with me. You can schedule a telephone call or a video call. Right there, it'll take you to a calendar, select the date and the time, and I would love the opportunity to work with you. Also, I do have a coaching program, and my coaching program is live and in person each and every day. So if you would like to engage with me just like this on a daily basis, but answering your questions and also being involved with the community of people who are healing and who understand you right where you're at, head on down there, consider joining the Royal Week Coaching Program. Now, let's get into this topic, beginning with the first person within the 3-to-1 ratio, the first person that you should avoid, and that is people with narcissistic tendencies. These people are surrounding you. Now, what's interesting about this category of people is you may have not have even recognized or realized that this many people in your life have narcissistic tendencies until you needed them. And here's how you're going to know that these people have narcissistic tendencies. And when you discover this, it's best to back out. Don't push it. Don't go any further with them. Don't try to beg, plead, or get them to listen to you or ask for their help in any way, because it will only get more damaging. I promise you that. Here's how you're going to know. Number one, these people, and they might be in your family, and you never knew this. It might be some close friends. It might be the people you work with. Number one, they're going to invalidate your experience. They're going to invalidate your experience. You're trying to vent about something that has hurt you, something that was said, and they're going to invalidate it. They're going to say, that doesn't sound that bad. What are you crying about? Why is this such a big deal? Invalidation. All right. And number two, not only are they going to invalidate you, but they're going to attack you, criticize you, and judge you in the process. You sound like you're just being too sensitive. Why is this such a big deal? Why are you making such a problem out of this? I don't hear anything wrong with what they said. This is what it's going to sound like. You've gotten all sensitive all of a sudden. You've changed. Okay? They're attacking you. They're criticizing you. And why is it that they're doing this? Why would a person invalidate your experience and attack you and criticize you at the same time? It's from a lack of empathy. This is one of the key characteristics of a person with narcissistic tendency is they lack empathy. They're not able to empathize with you. As a matter of fact, what you're going to discover is that before they even get to empathy, if they're even edging on empathy, they will get angry. They'll get angry with you, and that's where they attack, and that's where they criticize you. People with narcissistic tendencies, it's easier for them to lash out than to actually cross that barrier into empathy with you. That's how you know you're dealing with somebody or you're talking with somebody who has narcissistic tendencies. Number three, they're going to ghost you. Now, I hear this a lot as a coach. You may have had all these friends, but once you had this bad experience and you're trying to share it, suddenly friends are dropping like flies. They're just out. So-and-so's not coming around anymore. They were there for you when y'all were drinking and grab-assing and having a great time. But now that you are in need, they're gone. They bailed. Once again, they can't get too close to that edge of empathy, right? Somebody who's going to be able to support you and help you is going to be willing and ready to sit down and say, what's going on? I'm listening. I'm all ears. Let's work through this together, right? Not these people who are ghosting you. And it's sad because, again, this may have been good friends of yours, people who you always thought had your back, and now they're ghosting you. Number four, and this is probably the most damaging tendency of a narcissistic person that you may not have even realized was a narcissist, and they're going to gossip about you. This is where you have to be very careful and very selective about who you share your abuse that you've experienced with. Because somebody with narcissistic tendencies will run with that and spread it like fire, and it doesn't matter if it is your in-law, your brother, your sister, one of your best friends. Many of you know that you have friends that gossip. Many of you have probably sat there and entertained their gossip. You didn't think anything of it because it wasn't about you. So they're talking and rattling on about somebody and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. No. Be careful. Because a person who gossips to you will also be a person who gossips about you. Make no mistake about it, gossip in and of itself is a narcissistic tendency. If you have people in your life who gossip about others, talk about them behind their back, say things when the other person's not around to protect or defend themselves, you're dealing with somebody who has narcissistic tendencies. Now, what's sad about this is going to cause you to evaluate all of your relationships now, isn't it? Many people who have experienced narcissistic abuse find themselves not only having to go no contact with a person who did a lot of damage in their life, who abused them, but they also find themselves separating themselves. Maybe this is you separating yourself from family members, from people you once considered good friends, from people you work with, because you now realize, oh my gosh, these people have narcissistic tendencies, and I never fully understood that until now. So for obvious reasons, these people aren't going to be able to help you out. Don't even try, right? Number two, this one is a little bit more dicey, just as hurtful as those with narcissistic tendencies. are people who are asleep, people who are naive, willfully naive. These are also enablers. Now, how do you know who these people are? Again, these could be family members of yours. This could be a group of friends. This could be your whole dang church. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you right now, Christianity are people who are asleep. A lot of them are people who are naive. Modern Western world Christianity is a breeding ground and actually promotes this naivety, if you will, right? How do you know? Number one, they're going to invalidate your experience. Now, they're not going to invalidate it the same way as somebody with narcissistic tendencies. There may not be any criticism. They're not going to insult you. They're not going to say things like, you're just too sensitive, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to do that. But they will invalidate your experience in more subtle ways. You might hear them say, are you sure they really meant that? Maybe that person that hurt you, maybe they're just hurting. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they just need more prayer. Oh, it sounds like they're going through a really hard time. How many of you have heard things like this? What is it doing? It's robbing away your ability to heal and to process, right? And it's promoting you having compassion, which is number two, promoting compassion for abusive personalities. This is where the church falls flat on its face. This is where the church is asleep. The church has people running around showing compassion for abusive people. It's no wonder why abusers are filling the churches. The church is filled to the brim. And why wouldn't abusers want to go to church? They can spend their entire weeks yelling and screaming and doing whatever they got to do to whomever. And then they get to go to church and hear how much Jesus loves them. Sounds like a pretty good deal. The church remains asleep. They don't like talking about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And I believe it's for pretty economic, selfish reasons, because they know if they started talking about narcissistic abuse and narcissism, half the congregation, which is made up of abusive people, will leave. All right. So how else do you know these people are asleep, either willfully asleep, naive? And by the way, these are enablers. These are your classic enablers. Number three, they encourage hope and trust. These people will tell you, just have hope. Don't give up on them. Have hope. Just trust them. No matter what, trust them. Listen, this is dangerous territory, because hope and trust can become delusional in the face of an abusive relationship. You can stay with somebody screaming, yelling, cursing at you, even physically becoming violent with you. And if all you're doing is hanging on to hope and trust because your church tells you to, well, you never know when an accident or something tragic might happen that's irreversible. Listen, hope and trust is not for this world. You should not be placing hope in this world. You should not be placing trust in this world. I've made a video talking about that. Jesus didn't trust people, and neither should you. Hope is vertical. Hope is for heaven. Hope is for your relationship with God. Hope is in the unseen. Vertical. Remember that. Same with trust. Trust is in the unseen. Vertical. Hope and trust do not need to apply, should never apply to what you can see. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Put hope aside, put all trust aside, believe what they're showing you, because that is reality, that's facts, that's data, whatever you want to call it. It is what it is. Hope and trust in the face of narcissistic abuse becomes delusional. Don't be delusional. It will cost you. All right? Number 4. These people who are asleep and naive, or enablers, will encourage you to compromise. Just compromise. Give up what you want. Nobody gets what they want. You can't just always be happy. Just compromise. Right? Listen, I've talked about this before. In the right relationship with the right people, you won't have to compromise. there'll always be little compromises here and there, but you know what I mean. Not compromise to where it's hurting you. Compromise in a relationship of any kind shouldn't hurt. So if you're surrounded by people who are encouraging you to compromise in a situation that's hurting you, you know that they're asleep, they're naive, they are enablers. Moving right along. The third types of people, and this, by the way, is dicey territory, trained professionals. And as I said before, this excludes some of the greats out there, Dr. Ramani, Dr. Les Carter, all the other doctors out there that are doing fantastic work to help you and me navigate this world of narcissistic abuse. But there are some people in this gray area. I'm going to bring up one other name. I'm going to drop a name, Dr. Jordan Peterson. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a lot of what Dr. Jordan Peterson has to say. I have listened to his stuff numerous times, but I will tell you this without a doubt, where he loses me is when he starts talking about how, well, the most dangerous people I've ever met are the greatest people. Right? The more dangerous they are, dangerous people are the best people. I get lost on that. Right? And then he'll also say things like, well, there's a little bit of Hitler and Stalin in all of us. And I'm like, what? Did he just say that? Here's my thoughts on some trained professionals like Jordan Peterson when it comes to being able to help you from narcissistic abuse. These types of people have all the knowledge in the world. They've read all the books. But it's quite possible that they are disconnected from your personal experience because they're not you and they haven't experienced it. And so when they're listening to you and they're trying to help you, they're simply trying to connect the dots with whatever book they've read, whatever Freudian said. What makes these situations worse is that a lot of trained professionals in the medical industry, psychology industry, these people work extensively and a lot with abusers. These people spend a lot of time studying those in prison, murderers, thieves, rapists, getting to know them, trying to understand their thought process. And in the process, they can become jaded. Yes, psychologists and doctors, they can become jaded thinking that, oh, well, there is humanity in there. Well, of course there's humanity in it. It's not good. It is evil, but there's humanity in it. And it can cause them to believe that, well, there must be a little bit of that in everybody, which there isn't. This is where they fall off the wagon. This is where Dr. Jordan Peterson and others lose me. And they might lose you as well. And it can be dangerous for you to try to heal from narcissistic abuse while listening to or working with somebody like Dr. Jordan Peterson, because he might start convincing you at some point that the abusive person is actually one of the best people. He's a good one. You've got yourself a good one. No. Not even close. There becomes a failure to understand that this world is split. This world is dichotomous. Yes, evil exists, but so does good. Your burden is to navigate yourself away from the evil parts, the toxicity parts, the rageful, violent parts. Stay away from that and gravitate towards what you resonate with, which is good. Okay? I hope that this makes sense to you. Here's how you know that these people who are trained pros are not going to be able to help you when you come across it. Number one, they're going to be trying to diagnose you instead of the situation. Listen, I know this is how a lot of them operate. When I was just 8 years old, my mother took me around to psychologists' offices and counselors' offices and in and out of therapy. Why? Because she was in a bad marriage. And so she assumed I needed to go as well as an 8-year-old. And I can remember sitting in the office as this psychologist was talking to me, answering questions that I had no even ability to answer. I just wanted to play with the toys and get the heck out of there. And come to find out, they diagnosed me with ADHD. It came down to me and what my issues were, not the abusive household that I was in. This is one of the pitfalls and the damaging parts about psychologists, therapists, and counselors. And I cannot begin to tell you over my 6 years of being a coach how many people I've talked to who have been in and out of counselors' offices, therapists' offices, and have been put on all kinds of medications. when maybe all they needed the entire time was somebody to address the toxic, horrible family dynamic that they existed in, and how that was the cause of their anxiety, how that was the cause of their depression. So this is how you're going to know a trained professional is not going to be able to help you. They're going to be diagnosing you, not the situation. Number two, they're not going to help you if they're dragging out sessions and plans. You go in there to talk to them and they're like, well, they don't say a whole lot to you, but they want to map out a 6-month program. I want to see you in here every week for the next 6 months. Right? Listen, I pride myself on the fact that when I take coaching calls, I typically talk to people one time. Now, there's a lot of people who I've contacted on a regular basis, but a lot of people just once. And they never call me again. So, some of you right now are saying, well, Kevin, maybe you didn't do a good job. Hey, fair enough. But I look at it differently, actually. I think they heard exactly what they needed to hear to get back on the right path, and they don't need to call me. Now, that is what it looks like when you're being guided into the understanding that you need, no matter how hard the understanding is, to get on a path to freedom. You don't need to be dragging it out. 6 months worth of plans just to get you to a point where you're on some kind of anxiety medication. Come on. Number 3, prescribed medications. And be wary of that. Again, medications, if you got to, you got to. I'm no doctor, but understand this. A lot of times, what medications can solve, so can distance, understanding, no contact, starting to put your life together, your hobbies, your interests, getting your mind right. All right. Number 4, they'll be disconnected. You'll know that the trained pros can't help you if they're disconnected. They just sit back and act like they're studying you, like they have no idea what you're talking about. All right. So this is what's not going to help you. Now, I know this video is getting long, but I want to get into the one type of person who will be able to help you. Now that we've identified 3 that can't, there's one type of person who can. Do you know who that person is? I want you to take a guess. Leave your comments down below. I'm anxious to hear what you're going to say. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the one person that can help you. If you're watching the video this far, right here, right? And I don't mean this in an arrogant way. Not me specifically. Come on, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm talking about a coach. I'm talking about somebody who you can listen to, and when you listen to them talk, you say to yourself, oh my goodness, this person is describing my life. That's the person that can help you. That's right, a coach can help you. Why? Anybody want to take a guess as to why a coach can, in fact, help you navigate narcissistic abuse and get out of it? Because coaches have played that game. A coach has already been in there, fought that battle, walked through that fire, and came out the other side. And even if they're just a little bit more ahead of you, they're still ahead of you and can get you from that place to this place. That's what coaches do. And that's what makes coaching, like what I'm offering here, so invaluable to you. If the words I'm saying resonate with you, if you can sense that I've been where you are, then you know that this is where you can receive help. Think about it. It's common sense. What's going to get you to where you want to go better? Somebody who's walked through that fire that you're in, or somebody who's read about it in a book in college? And I'm not trying to take away anything from the book readers in college, but somebody who's gotten out of it versus somebody who's trying to connect the dots based on some author in the, author's essay. Coaches have played the game. Coaches have gotten the trophies, lost the battles, won the fights, made their way through it. That's what a coach does. They weren't always called coaches, by the way. We weren't always called coaches in the ancient world. There was another name for it, spiritual guide. Back then, there was no college degree to be a spiritual guide. What a spiritual guide was somebody in a spiritual way who has been through a fire, been through a transformation in life, and now is morally, spiritually ready to lead somebody through that same fire. That's what you need coming out of narcissistic abuse. Whether you're leaving your family, your in-laws, your husband, your wife, your group of friends, or you're looking to quit your job, you need to be able to hear in somebody else's voice that they've been there, they've done that, they've made the mistakes, they've fallen in the traps, they've gotten themselves up, and they have the map to get you out of it, or to at least offer you the proper guidance. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to advertise for coaches, but I am trying to tell you the importance of understanding what a coach is. God forbid, one day they yank away the ability for coaches or spiritual guides to do what they do, because then you'd have no choice but then to go and spend your money on those who've read books, who may or may not know anything about your experience, may be disconnected from what you're experiencing. And hey, we live in a world that they'd like to do that how many of you agree? Haven't you seen it? We live in a world that's based on, well, hey, it's not educated. It's not based on so-and-so's writing, so we're going to shut it down. We don't care if people connect on an individual level with somebody. If they haven't gotten a grade based on so-and-so's essays written in the 1800s, right? They would love to do that. So I challenge you, if help is available right now, you should take it. Don't hesitate. Many of you right now are looking for help and you need it. I challenge you right now, no matter who it is, if it's me or if it's somebody else that you're watching, a coach who you resonate with, call them. It may be the most important decision that you ever make, especially if you're tired of ruminating, you're tired of feeling stuck, you're ready to get your life back on track. Call them. Just schedule the call. Just do it. Because you don't know how much longer. None of us do. Before they shut down YouTube, and you're not going to have any choice but to go to your local therapist's office with somebody who just sits there and has their book knowledge, whatever. I'm not coming down on them. It is what it is. It's the reality. All right. Now, there is a caution I want to give you before working with a coach or a spiritual guide. Here's the caution. When you get to these levels of intimacy where you're talking back and forth, especially with somebody who identifies and understands your life, and it seems like they're speaking your life back to you, it's real easy to develop these strings of intimacy because it's going to be like you've never experienced that before. Wow, this person and I are like one. It must be my twin flame. Ah! You can get overly excited, right? And it's normal and natural. Feelings might start to develop. That's fine. But the caution in this is to make sure it stays focused, which, by the way, that's the only reason I charge, by the way. I charge to make sure it stays focused. I'm here because I have this insight. I have this understanding. I've walked through that fire and I want to help you. Okay? Otherwise, it's real easy to be like, oh my gosh, we're the same. We're twin flamies. Whatever that means, I don't know. But it could be dangerous territory, right? You want to be able to keep it in perspective, create a space. This person has been exactly where I've been. They can help me out. Right? As I said before, I'm here to support you. Down below in the description box is where you will find a link to schedule some one-on-one time with me. Click on that link for your one-on-one appointment. It will take you to my appointment page with options for a video call or a standard telephone call. And I look forward to talking with you. And before I go, if you liked this video, if you found it helpful, be sure to hit that like button, would you? Share this video with somebody who needs it right now. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. Choose one of these videos to watch next because the algorithm suggests these videos for you. And I'll be back with more videos for you right here on The Royal We.